The Homeland Security Department last year completed a big project in Manhattan, Kansas, that is. Construction finished, the Science and Technology Directorate cut the ribbon to the National Bio and Agro-Defense facility there, and it came in under budget, which has produced a sort of financial echo. For a review of what it is, why this all matters, the former National Bio and Agro-Defense Facility Program Manager, Tim Barr, joins me now. Mr. Barr, good to have you with us.
Nice to be with you, Tom. Very nice.
And we'll get into why you're the former in just a moment. But first, I think the latest development in this project is that a bunch of money came back from the federal government to the state of Kansas over this. Tell us what that's all about.
So when the program was started way back in 2006, it's been going on a long time, when we were getting put out an RFI for different sites to do it. You know, it was one of the things was if different entities who want to have this in their location, you can provide funding, you can provide land, whatever. There's no restrictions on that. It wasn't a requirement, but you could do it. So long story short, the state of Kansas gave us the 48-acre site, but they also gave us in total $307 million to go towards the construction of the $1.25 billion facility, with the stipulation that any funds remaining at the end of the project would be returned. Well, as things turned out, we had money left over. So I think it's been a couple of weeks now, we wired the state of Kansas treasurer $10,082,355.80. That's how much we are under budget on a $1.25 billion project. That's the short story, Tom.
Wow. I would have thrown in maybe a couple of dimes to round up that 80 cents to an even number. But we referred to you a moment ago as the former National Bio and Agro-Defense Facility Manager. It's no longer Homeland Security?
The U.S. Department of Agriculture owns and operates the facility. So this facility will replace existing research facility at Plum Island, which is on an island between New York, Long Island, and Connecticut. And the mission there will be the same mission at MBAF, although slightly expanded, to do comprehensive research, develop vaccines, antivirals, and diagnostics, and training capabilities to protect the country from foreign animal and emerging diseases that could impact our food supply and the ag economy. The difference with MBAF is, in addition to the capabilities that currently exist at Plum Island, MBAF will have a BSL-4 capability, which is the only facility in the United States that has a BSL-4 capability for large animals.
BSL-4 means?
So BSL-2 is like a college chemistry lab, I'll say. BSL-3 is you're working on pathogens for which there's no impact on humans, or there are known and standard treatments for humans dealing with them. BSL-4, you're working on things for which there is no treatment. And basically the work is you're working in a moon suit with an air supply, things like Hendra virus, Ebola, things like that.
And this is located in Manhattan, Kansas. Is it associated with the land-grant university there?
It is adjacent to, it is not part of the university. But originally, DHS initiated the program. There's USDA employees at Plum Island. In fact, the bulk of the employees there are USDA employees. They do the bulk of the research. And so when we were programming to get MBAF going, clearly we got a lot of input from USDA on their needs and all that. But DHS was going to be the owner-operator, as they are with the Plum Island facility. President's budget in 2019 proposed that, hey, let's switch this over to have USDA operate it. That got enacted when the budget was put in place. And so we had to collaborate with even more closely with USDA to change the management posture on all that. But in that, the legislation also stipulated that DHS would complete the construction, the ongoing at that time, construction and commissioning of the facility. So now that that's done, that's why I'm now the former program manager for the MBAF program for Homeland Security.
We're speaking with Tim Barr, that former program manager. What are you program manager of now, by the way?
I'm not a program manager. I'm currently functioning as an advisor within the Office of National Labs, Science and Technology Directorate, supporting various program initiatives.
And let's get back to Plum Island now. You say that still is DHS, but that is slated to close?
Yes. As you mentioned earlier, we had the ribbon cutting, which was sponsored by USDA. They did a great job, had a lot of nice dignitaries there. It was a great event, very fulfilling at the end of a long, long period of execution. So right now, they're in the process of executing their plan to move all the pathogens from Plum Island to MBAF, which is, I don't know the details on that. I'm not involved in that anymore, but that's ongoing right now. Once they get all those there, then they can start take over the capabilities that are currently ongoing at Plum Island. Once that's done, then the research facilities at Plum Island will be decommissioned and the property dispositioned, which is a changing avenue.
Sure. Well, let's hope they don't spill anything along the way, taking it from Plum Island to Kansas.
There are tried and true methods for moving materials such as that.
And what's required to decommission a place that was full of, frankly, poisons and unknown pathogens or untreatable pathogens for so many decades? That really goes back, I think, to World War II.
The decommissioning of Plum Island is something I'm not completely familiar with. There's another program area within the organization that's dealing with that. But one point is that the untreatable pathogens you mentioned that you have in a BSL-4, they are not on Plum Island. Plum Island does not have the BSL-4 capability. Their highest level is the BSL-3.
Right, so they could decommission that with some reasonable assurance that they could put condos there.
There's that plan's in place. I am just not intimately familiar with it in order to speak to the various details.
All right, and maybe just review for us in some more detail what does go on now that will happen in the new place in Manhattan. Is it mostly federally staffed, or do academic researchers come in, or how does that work?
USDA uses basically a government-owned, government-operated approach with all federal employees. They do have some contractor support in certain areas, but they do partner. So all the research is basically done by those federal employees. And they do, as does DHS, reach out to various partners, around the country and around the world in some ways, just for collaborations. But, I think the facility will employ something like 400 people, the bulk of those being federal employees. And they're the ones that do the research there, both. And there's research, and then there's also the diagnostic mission. That's a big part of the MBAF mission is, and training. You bring in veterinarians from around the country, from around the world, and you show them, hey, here's what this disease looks like in these various animals, which is very valuable because now these veterinarians are out in the field and they can understand, okay, hey, I've seen this before. I was trained on this. And so on. So that's a big part of the mission as well.
All right. Sounds like a new twist on Dog and Pony Show, the way those veterinarians go out there. And Science and Technology Directorate, I think of that as the kind of applied science wing, if you will, for Homeland Security and its various missions. With the expelling of the new facility, the NBAF, and now, to agriculture, what will science and technology at DHS continue to do in the biodefense area, which is still a legitimate concern for Homeland Security?
So science and technology will still have a role in the the ag defense bio world. We're still discussing with USDA how our partnership's exactly going to work when that facility is up and running, but we have other avenues to meet our mission needs at other facilities around the country, not like MBAF per se, but I would also point out that the ag defense mission within science and technology is not the bulk of the work that science and technology does. There are many, many, many other areas of research beyond the animal health and ag defense mission functions that science and technology works on.
Homeland Security operates in pretty much every area of infrastructure.
Yes.
Fair to say. All right, so what will you do next? You've been sort of kicked out to advisory role, but sounds like you've been there a long time.
Yes, well, so I reside in Manhattan, Kansas. I'm now a remote employee in Manhattan, Kansas, supporting the headquarters organization, and I'm enjoying that. It's nice to do something new. I moved here to Manhattan in January of 2011, back when the site was basically a pile of dirt. So while it's very, very fulfilling to have completed the facility successfully, gotten it commissioned, and on top of that, as a native Kansan, being able to send money back to the state of Kansas